You've probably seen all those videos promising record-breaking vegetables without having to spend a dime on commercial fertilizer. Instead, the secret is supposedly sitting right in your kitchen trash. Things like banana peels, used coffee grounds, and crushed eggshells. But if you've actually tried scraping your morning garbage into the dirt, you might have ended up with stunted plants, rock-hard soil, and a serious pest problem. Which raises a really practical question. If these kitchen scraps are so packed with nutrients, why do they so often ruin a garden instead of helping it grow? This diagram maps out the disconnect. On the left, we have the typical internet claim, adding everyday household scraps to the dirt. On the right, the expectation of giant vegetables and saved money. But what's missing is the concept of bioavailability. In the reality of soil biology, a plant cannot eat a physical scrap of food. Until that material is fully broken down, those nutrients are locked away, meaning your plant is starving while the garbage slowly rots right next to its roots. So making these viral hacks actually work isn't about what you dump into the dirt. It's entirely about how you prepare that waste to make those nutrients biologically available. Let's look at what that biological timeline means for a classic trick, burying raw banana peels near your plant roots. Chopping up those peels does introduce potassium to the soil, which plants desperately need to build strong cell walls and produce heavy, water-dense fruit. This chart tracks preparation effort against how fast your plants actually benefit. A raw banana peel takes a long time to break down. You are building a nutrient reserve for next year's harvest, not fixing a deficiency today. Now consider another extremely popular habit, taking uncomposted fresh coffee grounds and sprinkling them directly across your topsoil. There is valid chemistry behind this. Coffee grounds contain trace amounts of nitrogen and add a slight, often helpful acidity to the surrounding environment. But fresh grounds also lock together when they dry. They form a physical crust over the topsoil that repels surface water and chokes off the airflow your roots need to survive. To safely extract that nitrogen without suffocating your garden, you have to invest time. You need to pre-compost those grounds first. Tossing raw, unprepared organics straight into the garden usually creates physical and chemical blockades, rather than the quick nutritional boost you're looking for. You see a similar issue with the advice to toss loosely crushed eggshells into a planting hole to stop your tomatoes from rotting at the bottom. Eggshells are incredibly dense with vital calcium, but a roughly crushed shell will sit in the dirt for years before that calcium actually enters the soil ecosystem. To make that calcium available this season, you have to put in the work. You either need to grind the shells into a microfine powder or extract them in water. That liquid extraction process is the exact same logic behind one of the fastest-acting methods out there, brewing compost tea. Instead of hoping solid matter breaks down, you steep rich organic compost in water for a day to create a dark, nutrient-dense liquid. Pouring that liquid over the roots introduces millions of beneficial microbes into the dirt. Those microbes go to work immediately, helping the plant absorb the nutrients already sitting in the soil. Extracting those nutrients into a liquid or a powder means you are trading upfront human labor for a significantly faster biological payoff. But what happens when you skip the extra processing and go straight to the heavy-duty additions? Take the old, visceral method of burying raw fish waste deep beneath the root zone. As the meat and bone decay, they release a highly potent, slow-release stream of nitrogen and trace minerals. It's effective, but extremely slow. It also carries a severe risk. If you misjudge the depth and bury that decaying matter too close to the surface, the smell will actively attract local wildlife to come dig up your garden. Then there is the jump from biological waste to concentrated chemical additions, like the highly debated use of diluted Epsom salt. A small dose of Epsom salt can deliver a rapid spike of magnesium, which helps a struggling plant produce energy and boost photosynthesis. But this only helps if your soil is actually deficient in magnesium. If your dirt is already balanced, adding salt risks toxifying the environment and permanently stunting your plant's growth. Whether you are burying rotting waste or pouring concentrated salts, adding powerful elements blindly carries a high risk of collateral damage if you don't know your soil's baseline. Zooming out to look at all these methods together, the clearest takeaway is that none of them function as magical, instant plant food. You aren't really feeding the plant directly. You are feeding the broader microbial ecosystem in the soil, which eventually feeds the roots. So deciding which hack to use depends entirely on your immediate needs and your personal timeline. This decision tree maps out 3 primary goals: fixing a struggling plant, saving money, or building long-term soil health. If you have a plant that is failing right now and you need an intervention before the season ends, raw kitchen scraps are completely useless to you. Your only viable, fast-acting options are brewing compost tea or conditionally applying Epsom salts. If your goal is to maximize your harvest yield without paying a premium for commercial fertilizers, you have to trade your time for those savings. You will need to grind those eggshells into dust and manage a bin to properly compost your coffee grounds. Finally, if your focus is on generational soil health and reducing your household waste, you can safely embrace those low-prep methods. Tossing banana peels or burying fish scraps works perfectly fine, as long as you know the biological payoff is years away. Consistently bigger harvests don't come from shortcuts. They come from understanding what your soil needs and respecting the biological timeline it takes to get there.